So I have the Amazon Fire Stick plugged in here, and I don't know if you can see it there, but there it is. And I ended up having to use the HDMI extender. And the only reason for that is because of the plug. The power plug here was interfering with the other HDMI cords that I have plugged in here. I guess if I had it plugged into a different output, it would have worked, but using the HDMI extender is, it's not a big deal. It actually puts it a little bit further out of the way. And of course, it's good to try out for this review to see how it works with the extender. So far, so good. It's not falling out or anything like that. And I do have it fired up. And let me go into some of my impressions of it so far. So the Amazon Fire TV game controller, the official first-party Amazon controller, does actually work with the Amazon Fire TV stick. Now, when I paired this controller with the Fire TV stick, it also said that you could pair third-party controllers. It mentioned Nyko as one of the brands that you could use. I haven't tried any other third-party controller, but apparently there is some support for other devices. So what you see here is a game called Knock Knock, and it's actually an odd, eerie little game. They actually call it a meditation instead of a game, but I'll call it a game. And you have this odd little character here, and he turns lights on in his house and whatnot. If you're interested in off-the-beaten-path kind of games and you haven't heard of Knock Knock, you might want to check it out. I've beaten it once, and there really was no total resolution to the end of the game, but it is an interesting experience. But anyway, this is the game running on the Amazon Fire TV stick. And you can see the animation is smooth. I'm just moving the character through the house here, his house. And the one thing I did notice is that the cutscenes were a little stuttery. So there's this cutscene that started at the beginning of this game, and it was a little bit stuttery. I'll see if I can capture that on film here for you, or on video here for you. And but if I remember playing it, or if I remember correctly, when I played it on the Amazon Fire TV, the larger device, the more powerful device, the cutscenes were a little bit stuttery as well. What I mean by stuttery, the frame rate is low, so you're missing a lot of frames on there. So I don't know if it's the programming of the game itself. In general, I find that the Amazon Fire TV stick is somewhat slower, but not noticeable in most instances. When I dump out into the menu a lot of the times, I notice a little bit of slowness there, but we'll try that at the end of this demonstration here. Let me just walk this guy out. He does this weird little talking there. Not really in any language, it's kind of unintelligible, but let's see if I can get a cutscene here. So that was a cutscene there, or at least part of a cutscene, and it gives you an idea of what I was talking about with the low frame rate. It's a little bit stuttery, but as I remember, that was the same with the main Amazon Fire TV box, so there's really probably not much difference as far as performance, as far as this game is concerned, on either device. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out of this game so you can see how long it takes to go from an application into the home screen area. And Okay, that was a knocking on, not in my house here, it was in the game. Again, the game is called Knock Knock. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the home button on the controller, and I'll do that in 3, 2, 1. So there you go. Not too bad. It's pretty responsive. I've had it be a little bit quicker than that and sometimes a little bit longer depending on the application I'm using. But again, the moral to the story here is that, as you would imagine, the Amazon Fire TV Stick is a little bit slower, maybe by a half step, than the regular Amazon Fire TV box. So let me hit the menu key again, the home key, and it dumps me back into the main menu here, as you can see. So let's take a look at the menu speed of this device. Now I'm going to be using the game controller again, and one of the main reasons I'll do that is because when I use the analog stick, it'll click, it'll make a clicking noise, and that's just because the stick is hitting the side of the controller. You don't have to do it that way, but I'm going to do that for this demonstration here so you can get an idea of when I'm hitting a direction and how the responsiveness is on the device. So as you can see, it's very responsive. So gaming in general on this device is sort of a time waster, but that's sort of par for the course as far as gaming goes on a streaming media box. And that includes Roku, that includes Apple TV, that includes Android TV. Of course, there are a lot of interesting games that you can play on all of those platforms, but as far as I'm concerned, there's no AAA must-play game on any of those platforms. And that's for a number of reasons. I think the main reason is that no one is trying to put a AAA title on any of these devices. They're kind of looking at it from the mobile end of things and trying to shoehorn mobile games onto these streaming media boxes in your living room. As far as I'm concerned, they should be looking at it the other way around. These boxes can play PlayStation 2 style games up to not quite, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 levels, but probably definitely Wii levels of games that could be played on these streaming media boxes. But no one is really pushing in that direction, and that's probably the main reason you're not seeing any must-play games on these streaming boxes. Now, the brand new Apple TV does have a lot of games available for it, but as far as I'm concerned, the thing that hamstrings that, the thing that holds back those games from being AAA must-play titles, is that every game and app must be, per Apple's decree, every game and app must be compatible with that remote control. Now, if you're not familiar with the Apple TV remote, it's a motion-controlled remote that also has a touchpad area. So with that style of remote and every game and app must be compatible with it, you're not going to get your console-style games that require a controller. Now, of course, the Apple TV does support a game controller, just like the Amazon Fire TV and Android TV. But because of that decree, because of that necessity for every app to be compatible with that remote, you're not going to get the full functionality out of every game. So long story short, as far as the Amazon Fire TV Stick and gaming is concerned, it is available. Is it something you want to do? Well, that depends on you. Are the apps, are the games something you want to play? As far as I'm concerned, I haven't found any must-play AAA titles. The best thing I could find is this game Knock Knock here, and that's available. You can get it on PC and whatnot. Now, there is a game that you can play on here, which is called You Don't Know Jack, and you're probably familiar with that because there's many iterations of that game, whether it's on different consoles, devices. Of course, there's a board game. That, I think, is a fun experience, and it's a social experience. That's where I think that these companies that make these streaming media boxes could really get a foothold, because these boxes are in your living room, which is generally the most social room of your house, and if you have a game going that's multiplayer, that's fun, that's sort of a transition or a digital version of a board game on the screen, I really think that that could take off. So there is a glimmer of hope. There are some of those games available, but again, at this point, I really don't find gaming compelling on these streaming media boxes. You're better off buying last gen's video game systems, whether it's a Wii, an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3, you're better off spending the $150 on that, getting a game controller. If you buy them used, you might get some pack-in games, get some really inexpensive games from last generation if you want to play. Unfortunately, that's the stage we're at right now. And of course, those game consoles from last generation are going to be more powerful than any streaming media box that you can buy. Also, they do streaming as well, so that's an option for you too. But again, like I said, there is a glimmer of hope with some of the games that are available, but nothing is must play. Nothing is screaming to me, you gotta play this on your Amazon Fire TV or any other streaming media box for that matter. So I guess I kind of went off on a gaming tangent instead of doing a full first impressions video on this device. So I think I'm going to end this video here, and in my next video I'm going to do a full review on the Amazon Fire TV Stick. So I want to thank you for indulging me on talking about gaming on this device and streaming media boxes in general. But I hope you got an idea of how this device performs, how I have it set up, and at least how it performs in a gaming setting and how the menu works. We'll go a little bit more in depth in the full review, I promise. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. And if you want to help out my channel, you can give me a thumbs up. You can share this video on your favorite social media. You could leave me a tip on my YouTube page, or you could actually join my Patreon, all of which is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.